For the longest time, pretty much a stagnant effort for the men in orange. Just a bit of a flurry in the second half, taking them to 134 for 9. Something to bowl at, perhaps. The kind of total in the past between 130 and 140 that they've actually ended up defending. These circumstances could be very different, but brilliant from all the Delhi bowlers. Rabada 3 for 37 and Nokia 2 for 12. Couple for Akshar Patel as well. Not very healthy when you see someone like Abdul Samad as the top scorer, and that too under 30. Here we are on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11th Circle, to try and make some sense of that effort to see if they are still in the game. Joined by Shaun Pollock, Joy Bhattacharjya. Shaun, we did talk about this kind of total that they used to in the past enjoy defending, but I think they would have wanted about 30, 40 more here.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, you always assess conditions by what you see. There was no swing through the air. There was no nip off the seam. You know, it wasn't unbelievable bowling conditions that put the batting side under pressure. And you feel for Hyderabad because they would have had the break. They would have come back thinking, okay, this is it. We're going to turn it around. 3 balls later, one of your kingpins is back in the dressing room for nothing. So, yeah, I'll be very surprised if this is enough. I thought that the Delhi performance was good. It could have been a lot better. There was a lot of mistakes they made, and certainly not a polished performance. But Nokia was key. I think he was the one who set the tone up front, picking that wicket up in the first over, bowled a good second over in the power play, and then when he came back was effective again. So the only thing that you'd really be concerned about was what happened to Stoinis. But besides that, I think Ricky Ponting will be pretty chuffed.
Yeah, I think the only concern would be obviously going forward in the tournament, but also in case he possibly could be needed with the bat. But with that kind of a total, they'll be fairly content with 10 fit batsmen out there, Joy.
Yeah, they should be. And I completely agree with Shaun's point that this is actually not a great bowling performance. 3 no balls in an innings is quite a lot. In 20 overs, 3 no balls, and all those no balls cost them. You know, I think 1 6 and a couple of 4s. They didn't bowl at their best. They didn't field at their best. They dropped catches. They missed runouts, and it's still 134. That's the point. I mean, that shows you the obvious difference in quality of the bowling and the quality in the batting out here. You know, look at that batting card, and Ridhiman Sahai, come back to it again. Looked very brave, hit a 6, hit a couple of 4s. He's just not a good enough batsman to strike at 140, 150 up front. Kane Williamson, of course, is a good enough batsman, but he was playing within himself, hoping that the people around him score runs. Manish Pandey, another extremely disappointing innings. And after that, it's just, except for Abdul Samad's brief flurry. And I'll tell you one more thing. If you look at Abdul Samad as well, he really got going when he got a no ball and he hit it for 6. That's when Samad actually got going. So this is a team that could have got knocked out, maybe knocked out for 120.
Possibly even less if you consider the kind of gifts they were given. But really, they'll have to introspect a little bit, Shaun. Up front, I know Joy mentioned that Williamson was playing within himself, but could he have perhaps shown a little bit more intent? Intent, I'm not saying necessarily going for boundaries, but just at least scoring at 100, nurdling it around 1s, 2s.
Yeah, I think it's just the nature of their setup, to be totally honest, is that they realize how dependent they are on him. So in the back of his mind, although he's managed to deal with it brilliantly over the years, in the back of his mind, he's still thinking, well, I don't really want to get myself out here. So maybe I can absorb a little bit, and then he doesn't get some singles and tries to absorb a little bit more. It just never got going. You know, maybe when Sahar was playing a few shots, you thought maybe they could get something going and find a little bit of momentum. But to look at the run rates and those times, nothing's impressive. There was no period where they actually took the game by the scruff of the neck. And I think maybe also from a Sahar perspective is you would expect guys to maybe be thinking out of the box. He's not one of those guys who's going to stand and bludgeon the ball back over the bowler's head, particularly when it's that kind of length. But when you've got the ability, still you've got to start to think of, can I maneuver around, maybe flick one over finally? Can I give myself a little bit of room and use the pace and hit it over extra cover or backward point? Those are the kind of things, you know, not everyone's power hitter who's going to just stand and deliver, but sometimes you can still be effective just by using different angles and different techniques. So I think that's definitely something he can look at. But it was a huge blow. Once Warner went, you knew they were going to battle to find firepower.
Yeah, it's probably, I mean, again, does it come down to the selection? If only someone like a Jason Roy was not an overseas player, you're just stuck with that for 4 overseas players. Or could they maybe have played him instead of Jason Holder and looked for another option, an Indian option, to be that kind of a player for Holder?
Look, I definitely tend to go with get at least some solid specialist batsmen who can win the game by themselves. The big thing about batsmen versus bowlers in T20, and we'll say this all the time, that at the end of the day, one batsman can bat 20 overs. A Jason Roy gets going, he can bat 20 overs of substantially 15, 16 overs. You cannot, this is too fragile a batting lineup not to play your best batsman. And it's not as if Jason Holder is a Lasith Malinga kind of bowler that he's, or a Rashid Khan kind of bowler that he's absolutely so much better than the others that you have to take him. So that's my problem. My problem here is that this is a mediocre side, and picking players for safety and saying that, okay, Jason can bat a bit, he can bowl a bit, is even not helping the problem anymore. You're outmatched against a team. Okay, the Delhi team is a much stronger team than you. The only thing you can do is say, I've got 2 good cards. Okay, Jason Roy, Williamson, Kane Williamson said, I've got 3 good cards. Williamson, Warner, Roy. Let me play those 3. If they don't work, the other 4 are not going to win me the game anyway. So let me at least play those 3 cards. And that's what I would do if I was a team I was overmatched against, where they were obviously much better than me.
Also, Shaun, if you look at form, I mean, because the last tournament played was the CPL, and we talked about, say, an Evan Lewis who came in with lots of good form. But the other side of the coin, Jason Holder, low on confidence. His team didn't do well. He didn't contribute much with bat or ball. So maybe that could have been a factor just to say that, listen, one Jason ahead of another.
Yeah, I think they've gone a little bit away by what's been their blueprint over the years, and that was always having the top 3 batters at the top of the order, and those guys take on the responsibility to get whatever score or chase down anything that's set for them. I think it's the nature of T20 cricket, isn't it? You're always looking for that little bits and pieces kind of performance. There's someone who can give you maybe a wicket or 2, and someone who can get you 20 or 10 deliveries, and that's often where the all-rounders tend to be picked in many ways in an emotional way, because you just look and think, oh, it's nice to have that buffer of 2 options. But I wouldn't be surprised going forward if Jason Roy now comes into the mix.
Yeah, and again, going by form, X factor, I'm throwing it in the mix. Not everyone agrees with me, but Shafin Rutherford can be a match winner on his own in that middle order. Certainly, Roy gets first pecking order, and then if you need a second, it could be Rutherford. But let's come to the Delhi bowlers. We could discuss Hyderabad's woes all day long. They were really impressive. We expected the Pacers to come hard, and they did exactly that. Never mind the economy rate from Rabada. There will be a few balls that will go, but Nokia really did that job, Joy.
He was absolutely superb. And what Shaun was talking about right at the start, that back of the length, hard length back, slightly back of a length, forcing them on the back foot, and then bowl the Yorker delivery or the delivery coming in, and you're going to get a lot of LBWs because the batsman has been forced back over time. Those are the kind of things that were not happening for the Delhi bowlers in India. And so Nokia is going to enjoy these conditions. Rabada will always give runs because at his pace, you're going to get a lot of edges and flicks that go all over the place. But he's giving you wickets. And once they have those wickets, then it's so much easier for the rest of the bowlers to bowl. So I think this is the best sign for Delhi. Now all they need is for their opening batsmen to continue their form, Shares to get a few runs, and they're set.
Yes, that's absolutely. Just your report card, Shaun, briefly on the South African pairing.
Yeah, length is key. I mean, you saw him toppling 150 Nokia and KG in the mid 140s. And you do get your odd delivery that flies over the keeper. We saw 2 or 3 of those examples when KG was operating. But I think they'll be happy. As I said in the show before we started, this is the kind of surface they enjoy. This is where they were successful. This is the bowling combination that got them to the final last year in these kind of conditions. And they'll be a lot happier here than they will be in Chennai, for sure, where they got absolutely nothing. So it's good signs. And I think they were looking good in the Sri Lanka series. They looked like they were finding some rhythm, and I think actually they'll probably start to feel a little bit more confident and even maybe get a little bit better as the tournament goes on.
Now the problem, Joy, I suspect, because we've not seen lack of movement, Sandeep Sharma, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, they need that. I mean, you've seen them banana swing, get the opposition 10 for 4. That is not likely to happen.
Not likely to happen. I think Sandeep will always get the ball to swing a bit, but it's probably going to stop after the first over or so. I don't even think. And Sandeep, the problem with Sandeep Sharma is you're very difficult to bowl him at the death because, he's not the kind of bowler who's going to give you anything there. So they try and use 2 or 3 up front, try and finish him off. That might not happen. I think Bhuvaneshwar is a better bowler in terms of being able to adjust to these conditions. And he's actually upped his pace from the mid-120s, late 120s to mid-130s to 140. I don't think Bhuvi will do badly out here. I think Bhuvi will enjoy bowling out here. He'll get it, but a lot will depend on whether Khalil Ahmed can do his job, and of course, can Rashid perform a miracle? I mean, every time Hyderabad play, they expect Rashid to perform a miracle. Can he do it again for them? Because I see the first 3-4 overs, if they don't get a wicket, I see them throwing Rashid in the first 6 overs to do something, just to make something.
You read my mind, Joy. My next question I was going to throw at Shaun was, we always see Rashid outside the power play. Do they need to think out of the box? Do they need to get him in early?
Well, I think you've also got to understand there are strengths of the other bowlers, and that's often with a new ball in their hand, the ability to get the ball to shape. So you need to give them something to work with. So I'd be very surprised they brought him in early. But it'll be interesting to see the Delhi game plan, because I think what they'll do is they'll go hard up front, because what they want to do is get well ahead of the rate, get a big, quick start under the belt, and then you don't have to do anything against Rashid. You can just treat him as we were discussing in the show before, just knock him around, pick up the singles, and look to attack the other end. So I think that would be the key. And as you can see, the partnerships have been good. They've done really well, and I think there's a few guys with a point to prove, not included in certain teams, and would love to make another statement. And I think we can expect more of the same. Left-hander, right-hander combination, I think they complement each other beautifully.
Yes, PTP we're talking about again. Just before we wrap the show, I just need a number from both of you gentlemen. 6 overs, since we again didn't get into that window of prediction. 6 overs for Delhi. If it's going to be hard, how much, Joy?
56.
56, that's a big power play. Shaun?
49.
49. I'm not squeezing in between. I'm not squeezing in. They're not going to go that hard. 45. I'll go 45, 49, 56. Let's see if it comes between that. That's all we have in this mid-show. Once again, we'll try and assess the runs chase in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox. But for now, from Shaun, Joy and myself, that's all on Cricbuzz Live, brought to you in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle.